With the release of The Boys Season 5 Episode 7, there are still so many setups this show has not even touched yet since the first couple of episodes. And now that we only have one episode left with basically 1 hour of screen time remaining in the entire show, it kind of feels like the writers just lit a fire underneath themselves and now they have to somehow put it out before everything burns down. Because don't get me wrong, Episode 7 had a lot going on. Homelander took over the White House, Frenchie died, and the boys found a possible way to recreate Soldier Boy's blast, and the finale is clearly being set up to be insane. But at the same time, there are still so many major storylines just sitting there like, okay, are we gonna talk about this or what? So let's waste no time and get straight into it. Starting with the most obvious question, where on earth is Ryan? Because at this point, Ryan has been missing for way too long for it to mean nothing. I theorized in one of my older videos that Ryan being MIA is not just the show forgetting about him. I think Ryan is gone for a very specific reason, and that reason is to eventually help stop Homelander. Now, after Homelander brutally beat Ryan to near death earlier this season, I said that that moment could end up being the thing that pushes Ryan into becoming stronger. And the best way to compare this to is like the Omni-Man and Invincible fight. Like when Omni-Man beat Mark half to death after Mark refused to help him take over Earth. That fight completely changed Mark. He got destroyed and had to recover from severe injuries. But after that, he started becoming stronger and he started learning more about himself and his powers. And I think that could be what is happening with Ryan. So with Ryan being completely missing and getting basically no screen time, the only guess that really makes sense to me is that Ryan has been training this entire time behind the scenes. Maybe he's just building himself up mentally and physically because he knows deep down that if anyone has even a slight chance of stopping Homelander, it might be him. But now there's one huge problem. Homelander has V1, and that changes everything because before Homelander got the upgrade, you could maybe make an argument that Ryan now has a shot after he got beat. Maybe not an easy shot, but at least a chance. Ryan is younger and he has the same type of power, and if he has been training, maybe he could surprise Homelander. But now with V1 in Homelander's system, it becomes extremely hard to see Ryan doing absolutely anything to Homelander. That is why I think the finale has to involve Homelander losing that upgrade somehow. I thought it would happen in episode 7, but I guess not. Homelander has to be brought back down to a level where he can actually be fought, because if he stays on V1 the entire finale, then I'm sorry, Homelander is going to win. It would just be Homelander wiping out everyone like they are background characters. And if Ryan does come back, I do not think he's going to be the only answer. I think he might be part of the answer. Now, the next big unresolved setup is the Deep. Somehow, someway, the Deep survives yet again. After the Deep confessed to Homelander about killing Black Noir, Homelander completely brushed it off like it was nothing. This man admitted to killing another member of the Seven, and Homelander just basically looked at him like, okay brother, cool story, but honestly, screw the Seven. And you can see how badly that destroyed the Deep, because the Seven was everything to him. It was the only thing that made him feel important, and was the thing he kept humiliating himself for. He betrayed people, embarrassed himself, got disrespected over and over again, and stayed loyal to Homelander because he thought that loyalty would eventually mean something. Surprise, it didn't. Then we only get 2 more scenes with the Deep, and after that, he is basically gone. And if we use context clues, especially after the lake scene where people humiliated him for not saving someone drowning, I think it's safe to say the Deep probably went into hiding. And honestly, that is very fitting for his character. Now, the Deep has spent his entire life running from conflict. He even turns on people the second he thinks it will benefit him. And he basically gave up everything for Homelander, only for Homelander to not accept him either. So now the Deep has absolutely nothing. Even the Sea Life don't even accept him anymore because they think he was the one behind the pipeline disaster. So the one place the Deep should always be able to return to is now rejecting him as well. But what if this is not where his story ends? What if the Deep finally grows a pair and actually does something useful in the finale? Now, I know the boys hate him and they probably have every reason to hate him as well, but at this point, they're going up against V1 Homelander. They need all the help they can get. So what if the Deep has a realization that Homelander completely ruined his life? And now that Homelander has thrown him away, maybe the Deep says, screw it, I'm going to try to right my wrongs. Maybe he goes back to the Sea Life and tries to explain what really happened, and somehow they accept him back into the water. Then in the finale, the Deep actually helps the boys from the ocean. And listen, I know this does sound pretty ridiculous, but this is The Boys. Ridiculous things happen all the time, and if the Deep is going to survive the entire show, then I would at least like him to do something in the finale that gives his character some kind of purpose. I'm not saying he needs a full redemption arc, because honestly I don't think he deserves one, but he could still have one useful moment. Like just one. One is all he needs. I don't think the Deep has had one useful moment in the 5 seasons of The Boys, by the way. This is the one that we all want the most. We want to see Homelander versus Butcher, which of course is going to happen. There's just no way they don't do this, because this is the biggest setup in the entire show. This has been building for 5 seasons, but from the looks of it, I'm not gonna lie, it does not seem too promising right now that this fight will be that good. And I know I've been glazing this season a lot, and I know some people have been getting on me for saying it, saying I've been defending it too much, but I have to be honest here, I do not know how in the world this fight plays out with Homelander having V1, because the entire finale now has to start with the Boys trying to depower him first. That has to be a priority, right? And since I do not think the entire ending of the Boys is going to be a non-stop action for a full hour, even though there definitely will be a lot of action, I hope, I do worry about how much time they actually have to give us a satisfying Butcher versus Homelander fight. Because maybe I'm tripping, but a 5 to 10 minute fight between Homelander and Butcher would just be impeccable. I mean like a real fight. I'm talking about brutal, bloody, ugly, where both of them are completely done holding back. Homelander is fighting because he believes he's a god, and Butcher is fighting for the sole reason of just killing Homelander. That fight needs to feel personal, and it needs to feel like everything these two characters have been carrying for 5 seasons is finally exploding in one room. I want it to feel like whoever wins is not really winning, they are just surviving. And personally, I still hope Butcher comes out on top, of course. I think if Butcher kills Homelander, it will take everything out of him. He will be severely injured or probably dying, and that would honestly make more sense for his character, because Butcher has never really been written like someone who gets to walk away and live happily ever after. His ending is probably killing Homelander and dying right after. Now let's talk about Marie from Gen V, because she made a very small appearance in episode 7, and I'm going to be real, it was pretty underwhelming to say the least. But because her role was so small, it has to mean that she is going to play a bigger part in episode 8. At least I hope that is what it means, because if they brought Marie into the final season just for a quick cameo, then it would be kind of a waste. Marie is way too powerful and way too important to just stand around while everyone else handles the finale. The biggest theory right now is that Marie will use her powers to try to pull the V1 out of Homelander's bloodstream, so naturally people are going to assume she might be able to do something like that. But I do not think that will be easy. I think Marie might try to manipulate Homelander's blood and either realize she is not powerful enough yet, or that Homelander's body is just too strong for her to fully control. But I do not think she would be the one to defeat Homelander outright, because if Marie just shows up in the finale and completely spanks Homelander with ease, I'm sorry, but that would be kind of disappointing. Not because Marie is a bad character, I actually like her, but having a side character from Gen V being the big answer to the entire Homelander problem would just feel wrong. The way I could see it is Marie could stun Homelander by manipulating his bloodstream, and while Homelander is distracted, Kimiko gets enough time to release the Soldier Boy style blast. You know, Marie helps create the opportunity and Kimiko uses the weapon, and then Butcher gets his final fight with Homelander. That would at least give everyone a role instead of making one character the easy solution. Now, another thing that was teased heavily before episode 7 was Homelander going on a full rampage. We saw the image of him in outer space, looking down as parts of the world get destroyed, and I really thought episode 7 was going to be the episode where we saw that global chaos begin. And I thought this would be the episode where Homelander starts killing all the non-believers, where he takes over the world in real time while the boys are desperately trying to figure out how to stop V1 Homelander. I thought by the end of this episode, the boys would have completed their weapon while the world was basically on fire. And then in episode 8, we would get an hour-long final battle, but we didn't get that at all. And that is why I'm a little worried, because I wanted to see more of Homelander on a global scale. Now maybe they are saving that for the finale, maybe we'll get a quick montage of Homelander killing innocents, destroying cities, or forcing the world to accept him. Maybe that space shot comes right before the final battle, but if they rush through it too quickly, I do think it will feel like a missed opportunity. So going into the finale, I am very excited, but I'm also very nervous, because The Boys Season 5 has set up a lot of pieces, but now the finale has to actually land them.